tying up a nice little smallmouth fly today. This is Harry Murray's Roadkill. Now, if you haven't if you're into smallmouth, especially smallmouth fly fishing, and you haven't read Harry Murray's book on smallmouth fly fishing, I certainly would. It is, in my opinion, hands down the best book on fishing for smallmouth bass with a fly rod that I have read. Anyway, the original book, I don't think he had this pattern tied at that time when he was writing that book, but later on developed it similar to his Helgramite pattern, which I've done a video on. This is a fly called the Roadkill, and as you can see, that's pretty much what it looks like. Something that's been run over hit on the road and run over a couple times, and just a mess. Fairly simple fly to tie, can be kind of tedious around the legs, but very effective, lots of action. It fishes very well down in the water column. It's a wonderful smallmouth bass fly. So that's Harry Murray's Roadkill, and I'll get started. I'm going to start the Roadkill with my hook and the vise. This is a Mustad 9672 in a size 6. The 4X long streamer hook. I'm going to debarb that hook. And I'm going to attach my thread. For thread, I'm using a Danville 70 Denier in black. This is all black fly. You can change the colors up on some of these Roadkills if you like an olive or something. Certainly you can do that. This is just a basic black one. Attach my thread about an eye length behind the eye of the hook, stopping almost 2 eye lengths behind the eye of the hook. About 1.5. This is where I'm going to tie in some dumbbell eyes. Now, the original recipe calls for some unpainted lead dumbbell eyes or non-toxic lead dumbbell eyes. I'm just using these that are painted black. You could also, if you wanted to, change this up and put some red ones in, or some yellow ones or something like that, just to change the fly up a little bit. You want to make certain you leave yourself a good eye length behind the eye of the hook here for tying off the front of the fly. Get my crisscross wraps in. Then I'm going to wrap over the hook shank and under the dumbbell eyes. Kind of pulling those wraps together just tightens it up a little bit more. I'm going to advance my thread all the way down to the very end of the hook shank. Here I'm going to tie in the tail. The tail is just some black rabbit. I got a rabbit zonker here. I'm going to tie in. Now the interesting thing is that the ones that I've seen that Harry Murray ties, he ties these in with the rabbit strip like this, with the hair up on this side. Thing is, with the dumbbell eyes, this is going to flip over. So I like to tie mine with the hair down, so the hide is up. That way, when this swims through the water, that hair is actually kind of flowing in more of an upward direction. I just think it looks a little fuller. I'm going to cut that hide here about the same length as the shank of the hook. At this point, I'm going to put in some head cement. So you should say put on some head cement on those wraps of thread around the dumbbell eyes, and that hide is just going to help to secure that down a little bit more. Next, I'm tying in a hackle. This is a black. This is just a basic Rooster, Indie Rooster. No, it's actually like a bass and saltwater neck in black. I want to tie this in by the very tip because I'm going to use all of this feather, almost all of it, when I wrap this in. Generally, the barbs on these also are a little bit on the long side, even for like a woolly bugger or something, but that's what you want to have. With that tied in, I'm going to tie in some chenille. This is a hairline medium chenille in black. I'm using this medium. The recipe calls for a large, but what I found is that this medium chenille that they have is about the same size as the Wapsi large chenille. It is also a Rayon chenille, which means it tends to flatten when it's, as you can see here, it tends to be flatter inside the packaging, so we're going to have to twist that up. But this will end up, even though it is medium, it will end up being about the same size as a large. So removing some of the fluff off the end of that chenille, I can tie that in right at the end of the shank here, anchoring that in very well, and then advancing my thread to right behind those dumbbell. No, actually, when I think about it, I don't, because I'm going to put in wraps of chenille, but every 2 wraps of chenille that I put in, I'm going to pause and I'm going to tie in a pair of rubber legs. I'm using some medium round rubber legs in black. And you'll see that those rubber legs kind of aid in the whole effect of a roadkill. So I will bring my thread a little bit forward here. I'll get one wrap. There's a wrap back there. I'll count that as one, actually. And then I'll put one more in here, setting my chenille aside. Now I'm taking one rubber leg here, and I'm going to tie this in right in front of that chenille. This can be kind of tricky, because what you're looking to do is just put in a couple of crisscross wraps. Once you get that first one in crisscross, you can get another one a lot easier. You can kind of pull these and get their position set, especially if one leg's a little longer than the other side. Now I have these already pre-cut. They're probably about, I'm going to say, 1.5 inches long. I'm not going to cut these afterward. Advance my thread forward a little bit more. Pick up my chenille, sweep these back, and put 2 more wraps of chenille right up in front of those legs, and get, sometimes this medium chenille also, I find that first wrap seemed kind of thin, so I'm putting in a 3rd wrap. Then tie in another set of rubber legs. Take your time with this, and don't, whatever you do, don't pull hard on your thread while you're doing this, because you're just going to move those legs out of the way. Get those wrapped in, a couple wraps more, maybe 2-3 wraps of chenille in front. It's tempting to put one behind, but just put them right up in front here. Yeah, I'm going to get 3 wraps in there. And don't worry if it looks, oops, in this case, it looks like I got a little gap right there. Don't worry about that. Don't worry if your legs get kind of pulled back in a rearward direction or pulled and pushed somewhere else, because as you'll see when this is done, that adds to the whole effect of looking like something that is roadkill. thread right up here to behind the eye, the dumbbell eyes there. I am going to put one wrap in there to fill that in a little bit. Try and scooch some of this back a little. Now I'll get a couple wraps up here, and I don't want to put more than 2 in here. And tie in the last set of legs. I don't want to put more wraps in there because I don't want to fill that space in 100% just yet, because I have a hackle. Well, I need to wrap the chenille around and around those dumbbell eyes to secure that in. So now I'm going to get one wrap right behind the dumbbell eyes. I'm going to come underneath and around once around the dumbbell eyes, and then back underneath forward and tie off that chenille just right in front. What that does for me is it fills in that gap. It also covers up the thread and everything right around the eyes. Put in a few wraps to secure that. Now, see what I mean about the legs? They just kind of go all over the place, and that's fine. They're going to have a life of their own with that chenille and everything, and that's what you want. So now I'm going to take that I'm going to take that hackle, and I'm going to palmer this forward. And I'm basically going to bring this forward and get a wrap in between each set of legs. And I should have enough hackle in the end to get at least one wrap around the very front. Sorry, I'm concentrating here. I should have enough hackle to get a wrap around the back here and then underneath, and then get a wrap or 2 around the front here. Just like that. Secure that in. A few wraps. Trim away the excess. And then sweeping this back out of the way, I'm going to create the head here. Just a blunt little nose to the whole thing. It makes it look a little bit better. And then a whip finish. So as you can see, I mean, this is kind of like a Mad Tom maybe, or a Helgramite in a brown color, maybe even a crayfish, I suppose. But ultimately, it really does kind of look like it's been run over out on the road, because it's just kind of a mess with the extra long hackles and those legs just kind of going wherever they want to. But sometimes that's just what you need. It's just kind of a fly that's a mess. Many fly fisher will tell you that they have some flies that have been chewed up by many, many fish, and for some reason they seem to work better and better. But that is Harry Murray's Roadkill. Another fun fly. One to put in your box and go chase some smallmouth with. Thanks for watching today. Thank you for joining me at the Vice today. I hope you learned a new pattern, at least a tip or trick here and there. If you'd like to help Dress Irons, you can like, comment, share, subscribe, all those wonderful things for the video. You can also head out to dressedirons.com where you can buy flies, tools, stickers, and merch, or you can join a growing community over on Locals at the Dressed Irons Fly Tying Guild. You can also donate to Dressed Irons if you want through the link at the bottom of the description. I thank everybody for their ongoing support, as it really does help the creation of these videos. What's important is to remember, only fly tying. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.